Oh, that's a good one. Oh, geez. Will solar panels survive EMP? You know, each product has different protections, whether that's in surges, whether that's EMP. You know, it's best to find out all the ins and outs of the product that you're putting onto your home or ground mount fashion. Now, if you have storage, naturally that may be a better option as you won't be as tied to the grid. Standard solar systems, if you're tied to the grid goes out, same thing's gonna happen. It's not gonna be producing. And at the end of it, if we all deal with an EMP, we're probably all screwed anyways. Will the government pay for solar panels? The answer is no. The government does not pay for your solar panels. There are federal tax credits, some state level tax incentives as well, but one of the biggest things you have to be careful of, it's a tax credit, not a tax rebate. You're not getting a check cut from Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is only going to ask for your money, but he will, based on your tax liability, be able to give you a credit so that way you don't have to pay as much in your federal income taxes. Will solar panels save me money? Most of the time, yes. In some instances, it may not be the best fit based on how many trees and shading issues you may have on your property. Primarily, you have to realize utility costs are not going to get any lower. With inflation as time goes up, just look at your typical grocery bill or your gas bill. That's gone up over the last 10 years. Your utility is going to do the same thing. So if you can go ahead and guarantee that your price is not going to change and you're going to have that price protection, you will save money over time. Will solar panels work with snow on them? That is a question that you tend to hear from time to time. The way it works, you need the sun. So if there's snow over it, you're gonna have to wait for the snow to melt. Now, most design softwares out there do account for all weather conditions. We can't obviously predict year over year how much snow you may have. This year, maybe you had no snow. Next year, maybe you have a lot. But it does take a law of averages. As the snow melts off, as it's closer to the sun, it's gonna melt quicker than just on your ground level. Your production will return back to normal. Will my solar panels work in a blackout? If there is a blackout, you lose power to the utility. Most systems are grid tied based on regulations. If you have an off-grid situation and you have an off-grid system, not all jurisdictions or utilities allow for that. But if you do have an off-grid system, your system would still be producing in that time frame. If you have storage, naturally power goes out. Your solar is then feeding your storage capacity, and so you would have whatever's backed up, whether that's a whole home storage situation or a partial home situation for specific loads that you're looking to back up during those times. Will solar panels get cheaper in 2024? Unfortunately, I do not see them getting any cheaper this year. Over the last 12 months, they've dropped down drastically. So the pricing of solar panels specifically, whether it's you doing your own research or working with a contractor and going through distribution, the panel costs are going to be increasing. And part of that is there are tariffs that are going into effect later in this year that the common homeowner may not be aware of. Will solar panels damage my roof? The answer is no. The panels will never damage your roof. The only reason that you would have any damage on your roof post-installation would be due to the lack of attention and quality of the installation process. If somebody did not install the products for your attachment purposes directly to the manufactured specs, or if the system was not engineered properly. So that's why I would recommend you always vet out any contractor that you're looking to work with the installation process. Definitely recommend using a company that also has the solar specific training, but also a company that also is backed by roofing as well. Having the pairing of the two of them. Roofing contractors, they're the professionals when it comes to your roof itself. They're going to have a little more insight on maybe you need a roof replacement ahead of time, or any of those outliers that you may not even be considering at the time of your installation. Are solar panels worth it? Absolutely. When you go ahead and you install your solar, you're going ahead and you're making an investment, you're making a commitment. Your utility bill, you're already paying them. Most people have it as directly withdrawn. You don't even check it. except if you see all of a sudden that it gets withdrawn and it's much higher than you anticipated. Definitely recommend looking into it. Now, there are rare occasions that it's not worth it and it may end up being more costly for individuals. One of the things too that a lot of people will go ahead and be concerned about is, okay, I'm going to be selling my house in X amount of years. Okay, well, there's multiple layers to that. Do you know for certain that you are 100% going to be moving at that time frame? A lot of times people say, hey, I'm going to be only here until, my kids graduate high school. Well, then they end up in the home all the way until the kids graduate college. So there's some things that are unpredictable, so don't be concerned about that. And at the same time, having solar on it is also going to increase the value of your home when you do go to sell it. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, but most definitely are worth it. Are solar panels bad for the environment? That's kind of a joke of a question in a sense. When it comes to solar, it's very popular to be part of the green energy movement. One of the things too is, take into account all of the aspects of what panels you're getting. There's different levels of things, the way the products and all the byproducts being used in the mass production of them. Here at Cenvar, we pride ourselves on one of the products that we offer is lead free. There are certain products out there that do have lead in them, which naturally is not the best for the environment, but traditionally clean energy source is by all means going to be a better option for the environment versus a bad one. Are solar panels expensive? Well, yes and no, to be honest. A lot of people get sticker shocked when they see the price, but you have to look at it in the sense of you're paying for your electricity realistically ahead of time for the next 25 years. Most of the warranties are for all 25 years. That's kind of the industry standard at this point in time. There are some that are a little bit lower or a little bit higher as well. But, if you're paying for anything for 25 years, it's going to be a lofty investment. Take a vehicle. Most people go ahead and spend $35,000 on a vehicle. How long are you going to be in that vehicle? Maybe 10 years. If you were paying for your transportation for the next 25 years, every single one of us would be looking at over 100,000. It's all based on your consumption. Naturally, some instances you're going to have better production based on the roof faces and the irradiance of that area. For certain individuals, it's going to be a little pricier than others, but should be customizable to what your energy consumption typically is. And like I said, you are paying for the next 25 years essentially ahead of time. Are solar panels tax deductible? One of the good things about the solar panels right now, you do have the federal tax credit, 30% of the cash price. There's a lot of things out there. You're going to deal with contractors that are going to say, oh, you're getting a roof too, you can get the 30%. At the end of it, that's up to you and your tax professional that you're doing your taxes with. If your accountant goes ahead and does that, at the end of it, you are the one that is going to be audited, not the company. The IRS has recently changed the form that is being filled out. In the past, it didn't specifically outline all of the roofing products. For example, a lot of companies prior to the new released IRS form were going ahead, and if you had solar on 50% of your roof surface, they would include that 50% in the solar invoice and then separate the remaining 50%. That is not the case of how they like to operate it now. One of the big things you do have to realize, it's all based on the cash value. There's also issues out there where lenders go ahead and will state based on all of the total finance costs. So your net principal of what you're financing the system. Well, if there's hidden dealer fees, or maybe they're not hidden, if the company you're working with is reputable, they're going to be transparent about them. Those fees are not the cash value of the product. So if your system and cash value is $30,000, but your total finance amount with all the interest rate over 25 years is going to be $75,000, you are not able to claim and do the deduction for the $75,000. So it's something that you definitely want to meet with your tax advisor, your tax accountant. I don't try to act as if I am myself, but I've been around the industry long enough that I have seen where people have gotten things that we would not recommend. Long story short, talk to your tax professional. Contact your solar professional to do the install. Talk to your tax professional to do your taxes. Are solar panels toxic? Some solar panels, as I mentioned in a previous question, some solar panels do have lead made in the materials for the cells themselves. Not all of them do. You also have to factor that, all of these panels, they have their own regulations. They have their own specifications with all of the manufacturing, their production lines. All of those things do play a factor. The reality is everything should be enclosed anyways if everything was made to the manufacturer's specs. And at the same time, is it installed to the manufacturer's manufacturer specs. If somebody goes ahead, newer to the industry, naturally your panels are connected by a clamping mechanism. Typically you'll hear a lot of people refer to them as mid clamps or module clamps. If those clamps are over torqued, if there was any of those toxic byproducts in the manufacturing, you could be releasing them. So it's not a cut and dry answer. A lot of it can come down to the installation, and as well as if the manufacturer of that product is trying to cut some corners. So just like everything else, this is a lofty investment. Do your research, look into the products that you're getting installed, get to know the company, that what they stand for, not just your installation company, because the installation company can only do so much based on the products that they have and what those manufacturer warranties and the products in their products they're releasing include. Are solar panels free? If it's free, it's for me, right? Wish that was the case. No, they are not free. There's a lot of misleading advertisement out there based on the government's going to pay for it, or oh, the panels are free. Now, granted, I will say this, there are certain aspects that certain states do have different state incentives as well. Personally, my home state used to have a state regulation where if you want to go solar, all you paid for was the product, actually. So contrary to that, so the state was then paying the contractors for all of the installation costs, all the labor. Distributors found out that very quickly, hiked up the prices in those markets. So it was still cheaper. However, no, I don't think there's really much of anything that's free in this world. The only thing you're guaranteed is taxes and death, my friends. Are solar panels waterproof? Yes. So you have to figure, when it comes to the solar panels, they're designed to be outdoors. They're designed to be in the elements. I've mentioned this, I know, multiple times on different questions. A lot of it comes down to the way the installation contractor of your choosing installs the panels. If something is installed improperly, you could break a seal. It's just as simple as that. Long story short, yes, they are waterproof. Are solar panels efficient? Well, solar panels all have different levels of efficiency, especially on the residential side, which is our specialty. The leading solar panels have a module efficiency of 21 to 22%. Think about it. We're talking 22%. I mean, as the module efficiencies increase, it's just going to get better and better. So they do have efficiency. You got to look at them all. They all have different levels of efficiency, but even furthermore, it's not just on the panels. You have to think about the shade of your house. You have to think about the orientation of your house. You have to think about the other products as well. So for example, if you have a microinverter, if you have an power optimizer, if you just have a string inverter, what level of efficiency are those? What are those outputs? Can't just look at a panel and say, okay, this solar panel is rated for 500 watts. That's not always going to be what the output is. So you have to be mindful of that. Different levels of efficiency across the board. So that's all we got time for today, guys. Hope that answered a lot of your questions. If you want to see more, please comment below, like, subscribe. Part 2 will be coming.